Welcome everyone for joining us today and the official launch of our 2020 Indiaspora Business Leaders List. We are so excited to have all of you here for our press conference, which recognizes more than 50 leaders of Indian heritage who are leading the largest global companies today. We want to share with you a lot of interesting information, and we're going to be having a lot of interesting conversations around this list today. And without further ado, I want to turn it over to our founder, who I'm sure many of you already know, MR Rangaswami.
Thanks, Mansi. If I could share my screen. Welcome, everyone. This is MR Rangaswami. I am very excited today to talk to you all about the Business Leaders List. As you may know, Indiaspora is a nonprofit comprising of influential diaspora leaders from a variety of professions, business being one of them, but we also have people representing us in academia, the arts, healthcare, the legal profession, and many others. Indiaspora has three main objectives. The first one is to get our community more politically engaged. We're nonpartisan, but we want our community in any country they reside to be very politically active in their process. We were the first organization to have a ball for a sitting American president. And a couple of years ago, we also had a gala to recognize that we are not only 1% of the US population, but we are also 1% of the United States Congress. And that was a very proud moment for our community. We've also been very engaged in community issues. Many of you might have seen us recently quite active in taking a stand with the Black Lives Matter movement and for racial justice. And that's something that is very near and dear to the heart of our community. And then finally, the third objective of Indiaspora is to really promote the concept of giving and philanthropy. We host an annual philanthropy summit. We also have an annual online giving program. We just concluded that for COVID and fighting hunger, where we were able to enable 7 million meals through our Chalo Give program. It's chalogive.org is the website in case you're interested. And then also the big, bold, audacious goal for Indiaspora is to help the community double its impact and giving over the next 5 years. So that's kind of a quick backdrop on Indiaspora. Now for the Business Leaders List. I think you'll see from this list that these leaders are innovators, mavericks, mentors, and activists. And who are these folks? These leaders, there are 58 companies with 57 leaders, because one of the people joining us on this call is the chairman of 2 Fortune 500 companies. And we also have, most of them are CEOs of their companies, as you'll see, and a few people who are at the president level. And they're headquartered all across the world in 11 countries. Again, the stereotype of the Indian CEO is someone who represents the tech sector. But this dispels that myth. You'll see from this slide that these leaders represent many different sectors, including banking, electronics, consumer goods, consulting, and so forth. So it's a very diverse set of industries that these executives represent. And the numbers behind the companies that these executives manage and run. They employ more than 3.6 million people, have profits of over 100 billion, and the annual revenues are over 1.2 trillion, and the market cap of these companies is over $4 trillion. So these executives run very influential companies, employ a lot of people, and can influence the society at large. On this slide, the one telling statistic here is that the index of the Indiaspora Business Leaders List returned 23% over the time that these executives were managing these companies. At the same time, the S&P only returned or delivered 13% of gain. So you can see that this group of executives are delivering far greater financial performance to the tune of 10% over the S&P 500. Again, they are as young as 37, all the way to age 74, with the median age of these executives being 54. Again, Indian Americans and Indians are known to have multiple degrees in their portfolio. In this case, it looks like most of the CEOs, at least half of them, tend to have an MBA in this case. Again, you've seen that these CEOs and the whole world at large is navigating through some turbulent times. For example, with COVID, as it's upon us globally, these companies led by Indian executives, executives of Indian origin, have made lots of humanitarian aid contributions. And also they're taking care of their employees, their customers, their supply chain. So these companies are doing a lot to respond to COVID-19, as you can see from this slide. The other big issue at hand in the United States these days is racial justice and the Black Lives Matter movement. And again, many of our executives on the list have taken an active position in making sure that we also stand along with the Black community in terms of getting racial equality and racial justice. And this will be a topic, again, being discussed by our panelists a little bit later today. And finally, the long-term and existential threat upon us is climate change and sustainability. And many of these companies on the list, as you can see, have lined up with the UN Sustainability Development Goals and are part of the UN Global Compact. And in fact, many of them have made very large commitments to decarbonizing the economy, to buying more renewable energy, and mitigating climate change. And these three topics, the dealing with COVID-19, dealing with the Black Lives Matter, and also sustainability, will all be part of the panel discussion from the CEOs this morning. Again, we also want to pay tribute to the people who came ahead of this list of 58. Again, one of them, we're very fortunate, is here today, Raj Gupta, who started as a CEO in 1999, who was one of the early pioneers who paved the way for us as a community to have so much success in the corporate world. Indra Nooyi, again, was the first Indian American woman to hold a position of CEO. However, we want to bring a spotlight onto the appalling lack of women on this list. Out of the 58 companies, there are 5 women. It's about 10% of the list. The Fortune 500, there are only 6% on that list of women, but this is no excuse for society and the corporate world to really promote more women and to have gender diversity. And this is something we'll be discussing. And we hope that next year when we publish this list, we'll actually see more momentum in this area. And Indiaspora is committed to continuing this spotlight to make sure that gender diversity is something that's practiced in the business world. Again, there are many, many other executives, too long to name, but we just wanted to highlight some who are not on the list, but you might see them and people like them in the future make it to our list. There are many women. Hopefully we'll see many, many more women come up over the next few years, but we just wanted to show you a sample of others in the business world who might be people to watch in the future. Again, that concludes my presentation on the Indiaspora Business Leaders List. We do have a website for those of you who want to go take a look at the entire list. It's lists.indiaspora.org. That's lists.indiaspora.org.